people are kind of like freaking out on TikTok about like having like tangible media again.
Hmm.
Have you seen any of that stuff? But like people are like, well, Netflix, if they decide to take something off, then we'll never be able to have Gilmore Girls again. So you need to buy all the DVDs. And I'm just like, I get that, but also like I don't think Gilmore Girls is going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
However, if I no longer have internet access, that would be a problem, in which case I would need to have the Gilmore Girls CDs. So
Sure.
I
Okay.
don't know.
All right. Eh,
But it's just one of those
yeah.
things that I think they're just trying to provoke anxiety. But
It's a rage bait,
it's working a little.
anxiety bait, whatever that
Yeah.
version would be. It's working.
Panic.
Panic. I'm so glad nobody panicked.
I'm so
Those are my
glad.
favorites.
Uh,
I love seeing the ones where it's like animals going crazy, and the comments are like, I'm so glad they didn't panic. Because it's always a cat just flipping out.
not me panicking about the water buffalo.
It's a real concern. It's like when we
Is.
found out moose can swim.
Oh no. No.
Also horrifying.
Also horrifying. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Blair.
Kirsten, and we are mediocre content. Ma'am, can you please keep your mouth off the mic?
No.
Oh my goodness. It's so definitively louder.
Yeah, because my mic is really good. We've established this.
Oh yeah, you gotta
Far away from the mic.
Yeah,
from the way close up to the mic.
Oh no, it sounds better actually when you're further away.
Really?
Which is weird because it picks up like your tone a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, I don't know. Discovery.
Do what you gotta do.
My mouth is full of taco chips, and that's great.
And hopes and dreams.
And hopes and dreams. I feel like, okay, so for people who don't eat Quest chips, I did eat Quest chips. I like Quest chips. However, my one complaint about said Quest chips is once you eat them, that's all you taste for 3 days. Okay. The taco flavor is so good, but it is only so good so long before you're like, is there anything else my tongue can taste like for 3 days? The answer is no. You brush your teeth, taco face. You use mouthwash, taco face. So for the rest of my day, just call me a taco because that's all I smell like. They were good though. Yeah, a lot of protein.
That's good. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
I think so.
Happy for you.
Thank
And your
you.
protein. I saw you drinking a high protein shake earlier too.
Those are my ride or die. I know,
They're
it's
so good.
it's trendy, but it is very real and very delicious. I have to order them on Amazon though.
Oh, you can't find them in store?
So I don't know if it's like this for every store, but first of all, they're sold individually in the stores and they're very expensive. Second of all, the individual ones are like, I think 22 grams of protein. But if you get the elite ones, it's 42 grams of protein.
Yeah.
So I use sometimes if I'm feeling a little frisky, I will use the vanilla or the chocolate as creamer for my coffee in the morning.
Wow, very nice.
Yes.
I have a recipe I'm going to send you too,
Oh,
where
please
you
do.
can make like chocolate mousse, like Oreo mousse with those
Cute.
things.
I do
And
love
like
that.
the macros are pretty good on it.
I mean, so for the nutrition plan, they want to be worried about macros. I'm a calories in, calories out kind of girl. So whatever you want to send, feel free because I'm in for it.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
And also, that reminds me, I need to make an Amazon order. For anybody who isn't drinking Fairlife, it's totally fine. It's lactose free. So if you can't have lactose, it's very delicious. And you can get your proteins. There's chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, banana, and I think there's another one. I don't remember.
Unclear.
I would love to. Oh, I should mix the chocolate and vanilla and make a cookies and cream.
There you go.
I really want a cookies and cream. Anyway, none of that matters at all.
Not right now.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
But we're kind of talking about eating stuff later in the pod. So it's kind of helpful.
Yeah.
Getting the food dream. Food mind. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know.
Disclaimer.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving this year?
We're going to Tyler's aunt and uncle's
Oh,
daughter's
nice.
house to his cousin.
Okay.
Does that make him his cousin?
Aunt,
Tyler's
uncle. Yeah, yeah,
uncle's
yeah. That's
daughter? Yeah,
cousin.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've never met that side of the family, and they're all from his aunt is from Rota, Spain. So
Oh.
we call her the Spanish queen. She doesn't know that. We don't call her that to her face, but we definitely call her
Uh-huh.
that generally. But she has this beautiful accent, and she's such a wonderful, beautiful person. And all of her daughters are absolutely gorgeous Spain descendant, beautiful women,
I believe
and
that.
they are goddesses. And I'm very excited to meet them and feel very inferior and loved at the same time. Because that's what Thanksgiving's about.
You're right. You're right.
Tis the
There's
season.
always the cool cousins that
Oh
show up
yeah,
in the fancy outfits, or
yeah.
like the one cousin that let their mom let them wear jeans
Oh, for
and
sure.
everybody else had to wear like a dress or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are definitely the cool cousins, and I
Yeah.
don't know if they know it, but I'm excited to be part of their world very soon.
Yes. Part of
No,
your
no,
world.
no, no show
Okay.
tunes.
Okay. All right. Well, let me disclaim before Kirsten yells at me again. Um, we are not experts on anything. If you've come to this podcast to get any kind of advice, we are not the place to get that info. We are the place to learn about things that may not have come across your For You page.
Mm-hmm.
So we encourage you to do your own research and also maybe learn something. Congratulations.
You've made it to the podcast.
Yes.
And Blair's covering the good news, which is
Yes,
its
you're
own
right.
set of good news.
You're so right. Um, so this one is, I titled it Muscles Help Your Neurons, and I'll
Hmm.
explain.
Please.
There's no doubt that exercise does good for your body, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Strengthening muscles and bolstering our bones, blood vessels, and immune systems. But now, MIT engineers have found that it also has benefits at the level of individual neurons, which, if you don't know, just some quick background,
Helpful.
neurons are incredibly difficult to heal. If
Mm-hmm.
they heal at all, they take a long time and you have to retrain your body to like relearn and like do things. If you've know someone or have had a stroke, you
Mm-hmm.
know that rebuilding neurons is really difficult. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They observed that when muscles contract during exercise, they release a soup of biochemical signals called myokines.
Can you
Good soup.
please not call my myokine soup, please?
A collection, if you will.
Okay.
In the presence of these muscle generated signals, neurons grew 4 times farther compared to neurons that were not exposed to those myokines.
Wow.
Okay. These cellular level experiments suggest that exercise can have a significant biochemical effect on nerve growth. Surprisingly, the researchers also found that neurons respond not only to the biochemical signals of exercise, but also its physical impacts.
Hmm.
While previous studies have indicated a potential biochemical link between muscle activity and nerve growth, this is the first to show that physical effects can be just as important. And the results shed light on the connection between muscles and nerves during exercise and could inform exercise related therapies for repairing nerves.
Nice.
Now that we know this muscle nerve crosstalk exists, it can be useful for treating things like nerve injury where communication between nerve and muscle is cut off, says Rahman, assistant professor of mechanical engineering at MIT and senior author of the study. Maybe if we stimulate the muscle, we could encourage the nerve to heal and restore mobility to those who have lost it due to traumatic injury or neurodegenerative disease.
Hmm.
Yes. So in 2023, Rahman and her colleagues reported that they could restore mobility in mice and that had experienced a traumatic muscle injury by implanting muscle tissue at the site of injury and then exercising the new tissue by stimulating it repeatedly with light over time.
Wow.
And over time, they found that the exercised graft helped mice regain their motor function, reaching activity levels comparable to those of healthy mice. When researchers analyzed the graft itself, it appeared that regular exercise stimulated the graft muscle to produce certain biochemical signals that are known to promote nerve and blood vessel growth.
That's like when people say exercise is not just strengthening your body, it's your mind and your spirit as well. It's so interesting to have pretty much
Yes.
actual research on that.
Well, and the more you exercise, typically, like the better your coordination becomes. And
Yeah.
that's definitely like neuro
Mm-hmm.
based, right? Because your
Mm-hmm.
body is learning how to send signals to your extremities and elsewhere that they
Right.
wouldn't normally send if you're not exercising, right?
So true. It's very cool
It's very cool.
and helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully, this will be good for those who have suffered pretty severe neuron damage.
totally. Absolutely. All right. So the second one is an update on Notre Dame.
Mm,
Um, it is a famous cathedral in Paris, and it was on fire a few years ago.
indeed. Oof.
All right. So, from the Ile de la Cité in Paris, out from the northern belfry of Notre Dame, the tolling of bells was heard by thousands. It was the first tolling since 2020, a year after the fire destroyed much of the 850-year-old building in 2019. And their restoration represents an important milestone in the lead up of to the cathedral's opening in less than a month.
Nice.
8 of the bells rang as part of the technical test on Friday. Neither the bells nor the belfry had been destroyed in the fire, but they were damaged and took over a year to restore that part of the building. Hearing
Jeez.
the bells ring this morning was very moving. Mr. Alexandre uh, Gougian,
Yeah, I would say yeah.
who managed their installation, told CNN, adding that it was the culmination of a big project. 3 new bells were added to the lower tower, or to the tower, including a large one donated by the Parisian Olympic Planning Committee.
Oh,
It was rung with a mallet above the Stade de France, the country's national stadium, whenever an athlete won gold or broke a record.
wow.
Though the structure wasn't ready for the Paris Olympics as President Emmanuel Macron had originally planned, the notable milestones have been met, including the restoration of the roof, spire, bells, and golden cockerel. Um, Philippe Jost, president of the public body responsible for conserving and restoring the UNESCO World Heritage Site, credited 2,000 people working to restore the building by December 8th. Quote, everything is almost ready, which means we're on schedule and we're competent, Jost told the radio network RTL. Quote, every day the cathedral is more beautiful.
That's so lovely. I remember seeing the videos
Mm-hmm.
when it was coming down and just the absolute devastation
Yeah.
of such a monumental building in the history of Paris. And just, I'm
Yeah.
so glad that it's being restored on schedule for the most part.
Yeah.
That's great.
Same.
I'm sure the people of
Also, the
Paris.
anxiety that I had when I realized that I had visited pre-fire
Yeah,
and lit a candle in there as like one of the things that you're supposed to do. And I'm like,
Sure.
oh God, was it my candle?
Yeah, from years ago. Don't even
Go,
worry about
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense.
You know how my brain works.
You're like, I destroyed the cathedral single-handedly.
Me as an American being
Right.
totally self-absorbed.
It's totally fine. Acceptable. Well, but speaking of America, we're talking a lot about America, early America, in today's pod, including one of the holidays that is fast approaching us. In fact, I think the week that this pod goes out is also the week that Thanksgiving is.
Hmm.
I think.
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay.
It's going to come out on the 26th.
See, we totally planned that, and I didn't have any questions at all about whether this would be perfectly timed.
Right. Professional.
Anyway, it's all on a whim, and we're just winging it. So today we're talking about Thanksgiving. We are talking about all types of things related to specifically turkey, because I realized that last time we talked about Thanksgiving, we didn't really give a whole lot of information on the, I don't know, the number one fowl this time of year. Yes.
What a weird description.
I mean, it's a fowl.
Bird?
A bird is foul.
I understand, but like foul can mean many things. Foul can
Foul.
mean gross.
Okay.
Foul can mean like in a game. Foul can mean
Oh, that's true.
a bird. Like
Yeah. I wonder, are they synonyms? No, they're homonyms.
homonyms.
Phenomena. Anyway, if you live in America, you probably experienced Thanksgiving or at least heard of it. And if you're in Canada, even though it's on another day, you've definitely heard of it as well. Where friends and family are supposed to gather together and debate politics they weren't supposed to talk about and eat a lot of food and then go to sleep and watch football, I guess. Also,
Everyone gets in a fight and then you leave.
and then you leave. And then you prepare to re-argue during Christmas where you open presents together.
Correct.
So this is also the time where we stuff our faces like feral beasts, and it's great. You can also watch the Macy's Day Parade if you
Which
want.
is my favorite part.
The only part that matters. And because the true main star is usually turkey, that's what we're talking about. You can also have ham. I actually prefer ham, but we're not going to talk about pigs today.
Yes. To all of that.
Okay. There is a myth also that I would like to debunk, by the way, right away. And it has to do with people sleeping after a Thanksgiving feast, specifically what turkey contains and the myth that people have been running rampant with for years.
It's really just because, well, you can go ahead and then
Okay.
I'll pitch
Okay.
in.
No, it's fine. So many people say that turkey makes you sleepy because of a special little thing known as tryptophan. And this is an essential amino acid that helps create serotonin. And this is a chemical that is released by the brain for your mood regulation. That
Yes.
makes
most of us are lacking
yes
in serotonin.
This is then supposed to create or spark the creation of melatonin, which is a hormone that then helps regulate your sleep and wake cycles. So because of these interactions, turkey is known to contain tryptophan, and people are like, well, you get sleepy because you've turkeyfied Thanksgiving dinner, and now I got all this melatonin in my body, and it's just making me so tired. This is false. Okay, that's not. It's tryptophan is real, but that's not why you're tired. Okay. The fact is, turkey has less tryptophan when compared to that of even chicken. Okay. So if you be just scarfing down chicken boobs, then you're going to have way more tryptophan in your body than if you had turkey during Thanksgiving. Yes.
The reason why you're napping after Thanksgiving. No, I want to say it though.
Okay.
Let me
fine.
say it. Okay. It's because your blood sugar gets really high from all the carbs and then you nap.
It's very true.
Yeah.
It's also why you don't necessarily feel sleepy after eating a deli turkey sandwich.
Right. Right. Or like a turkey wrap.
Right. It's because that's just not true at all.
It's because of the mac and cheese and the potatoes. It's making your blood sugar really high.
Absolutely. And digestion takes energy. So
Also
when
that.
you've consumed a larger, probably more than normal than you normally would, because it's all great, and your mom or your grandparents or your husband or your wife or your friend has made all this delicious food, and you're like, this is amazing, and then you pack on the pumpkin pie, and suddenly your body's like, I got to do something with all of this, I have to break it down, and then it's like, you need to take a nappy poo so I can work with this, and that's what happens. It just zonks you out because it's trying to digest all your stuff.
I would also like to say, as someone who likes to bake and make side dishes for Thanksgiving,
yes,
I am not trying to go on a diet for Thanksgiving, so I'm using full fat butter and like the whole like cream and the whole nine, right? So like we're not sparing any calories for Thanksgiving.
Exactly. Also, the interactions you're actually having, just want to be very clear. The chemical actions, that's actually, I just want to be very scientific, is the insulin being created due to that carb trigger that removes glucose and amino acids from the bloodstream. That this then allows tryptophan to pass through your blood-brain barrier to produce the serotonin and therefore melatonin. You got a little alcohol in your system, and now everyone's asleep. So anyway, I just want to go ahead and state that it's not that way. If you'd like to continue to believe that, that's totally fine. But now you have the science, and we can move on to the birds.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Kirsten.
You're welcome, Kirsten, Science Corner.
Literally.
Anyway, a turkey is a massive bird in the genus Meleagris, coming from the Greek word guinea fowl, though ironically, guinea hens are not part of this genus. Super weird. If you've never seen a guinea hen, they're annoying, and you cannot convince me otherwise. While turkeys are native to North America, there are two living turkey species in general. The wild turkey, Meleagris galapavo, of eastern and central North America, and the ocellated turkey, Meleagris ocellata, of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. Very different. Okay? They're the only ones, though. Males of both turkey species have a distinctly fleshy wattle called a snood, which is so fun, that hangs, yeah, right, that hangs from the top of the beak. They are among the largest birds in their ranges. And if you've never seen a turkey, feel free to look it up. They are massive. As with many large ground feeding birds, the male is bigger and much more colorful than the female because they got to show off somehow. And there are also two extinct species, including the Meleagris californica, with fossils obviously found in California, specifically the southern part, and the Meleagris crassipes from New Mexico. They're not with us anymore. Probably because we ate them. I don't actually know that to be true. Don't go spreading that. The linguist Mario Pei proposes two possible explanations for the name turkey. One theory suggests that when Europeans first encountered turkeys in the Americas, they incorrectly identified the birds as a type of guinea fowl, which were already being imported into Europe by English merchants to the Levant via Constantinople. The name of the North American bird may have developed as turkey fowl or Indian turkeys, which eventually was just shortened to turkeys because we're lazy. And turkeys were likely first domesticated in the pre-Columbian Mexico, where they held a cultural and symbolic importance. The classical nahuatl word for turkey is still used in modern Mexico. I think in Spanish it's technically called the guajolote. Hopefully I pronounced that right.
Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah. They're also can just be called pavo. Apparently that's their shortened version of turkey.
Okay.
Mayan aristocrats and priests appear to have a special connection to ocellated turkeys, because that's where they're from, with ideograms of those birds appearing in Mayan manuscripts. Spanish chroniclers, including Bernal Diaz del Castello and Father Bernardino de Sahagún, described the multitude of food, both raw fruits and vegetables, as well as prepared dishes that were offered in the vast markets of their area, noting that there were tamales made of turkeys, iguanas, chocolate, vegetables, fruits, and more.
Nice.
I've never thought about eating an iguana. Also, just want to put that out there.
Yeah, eating
Yeah.
reptiles kind of grosses me out.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Turkeys were first imported to Europe via Spain around 1519, where they gained immediate popularity among the aristocratic classes. They arrived in England in 1541. From there, English settlers would then bring the turkeys to North America during the 17th century. And then they were used both as a food source and then for their feathers and bones, which were practical and within cultural contexts of the time, whatever those were. Compared to wild turkeys, domestic turkeys are selectively bred to grow larger in size, and that's just kind of the truth for a lot of the food that we consume, whether it's meat or otherwise. In the United States now, there are estimated to be around 10 million turkeys in the 17th, or what is now the United States. There was about 10 million turkeys in the 17th century. And by the 1930s, only 30,000 remained because they were getting eaten and used for those various reasons. In the 1960s and 70s, biologists started trapping wild turkeys from the few places that remained and reintroduced them into other states, including Minnesota and Vermont. You're welcome for your now overflowing population of turkeys. Starting in 2014, researchers sent a survey to wildlife biologists in the National Wild Turkey Federation Technical Committee across the U.S. states to gather data regarding the population of turkeys. As of 2019, the wild turkey population declined by around 3% since 2014. Also, as of 2019, the number of wild turkey hunters decreased by 18% since 2014. And then the 2019 data for population was missing information from about 12 states. And the 2019 hunter data was kind of missing from 8 states. So It's a roundabout estimate, is basically what they're saying.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. Turkeys have been known to be aggressive towards humans, so I would not go up to one of these suckers and just start hanging around. And this is inclusive of pets in other residential areas. So they're willing to fight and take you down with them. While turkeys do have a social structure and a pecking order, haha, habituated turkeys may respond to humans and animals as they do other turkeys. So if you do want to try to establish dominance, feel free. It might work. Habituated turkeys may attempt to dominate or attack people that the birds view as their subordinates. The next section, I just want to be very transparent, is rated T for Turkey Tom is about to get freaky. So prepare yourself and giggles. It's great. We're going to talk about some funky anatomy. And Blair, you have been provided a photo.
It looks great.
Everyone else can Google it. The reason that we're talking about what it looks like is because these anatomical features, particularly of, the male turkey schnood, is very important. Okay? So what I'm about to say sounds creepy and a little bit inappropriate, but I promise it's just nature. Okay?
Great.
So anatomically, the snood is an erectile, fleshy protuberance on the forehead of turkeys.
They have a forehead penis.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but you feel free. most of the time, like, it just makes me giggle. Most of the time when a turkey is relaxed, the snoot is pale and about 2 to 3 centimeters long. He's a grower, not a shower. However, when the male begins strutting, which is the courtship display, the snood will get bigger because it's got more blood pumping to it. It becomes redder, and then it gets longer by several centimeters. And then it hangs well below the beak, as provided to Blair in the image, which I'm sure she is loving to look at.
I saw the picture. It was like, wow, that guy's like snood looks kind of different than like other ones.
Have you seen?
I mean, they're on their face. Like, you can see them.
Once you've seen one, you've seen them all,
Literally.
Anyway, snoods are just one of the what's called chronicles that can be found on turkeys. While fighting, commercial turkeys often peck and pull at their snoods, which is kind of rude, but it also damages and causes bleeding. This often leads to further injurious pecking by other turkeys and may also result in cannibalism, which is so fun. So, with these turkeys sometimes cannibalizing each other because they're pecking their snoods over and over again and fighting each other. If they're domesticated, farmers will usually just cut that snood off when they're young chicks, a process literally just known as desnooding.
Desnooding.
Just very creative, if I may say.
If you ever want to insult a man, you're like, I'm going to desnood you. And they're going to be like, what is that?
Don't even tempt me. The snood can be between 3 to 15 centimeters, which is about 1 to 6 inches long, but size doesn't matter. And in length, depending on the turkey's sex, health, and mood, of course. But what's the point of it? Why does it matter? Why do you care about the snood? Why should you care? I don't know why you should care. But what I can say is that the turkey cares because it functions as both an intersexual and intrasexual selection. Captive female wild turkeys, which is just like a wild sentence, captive and wild, prefer to mate with long snooded males. And
so size does matter, is what you're telling me.
Only if you're a captive wild female turkey.
I know. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And during dyadic interactions, male turkeys defer to males with relatively longer snoods. These results were demonstrated using both live males and controlled artificial models of males, because you got to test it to make sure.
Got to trick them with the robots.
That's right. So robot turkeys. Data on the parasite burdens of free living wild turkeys revealed a negative correlation between snood length and infection, which is unfortunate, with intestinal coccidia, which is a deleterious protozoan parasite. This indicates that in the wild, for example, the long-snooted males preferred by females and avoided by males seem to be resistant to this infection, which is great. And it just proves that it's kind of like a natural selection, like the longer snood just kind of increases your chance of being the fittest option, you know?
Right.
Not that the turkey goes, oh, they probably don't have a parasite, but it's like natural selection's weird like that, and we
Right.
don't have time to get
Right.
into it.
Right.
Scientists also conducted a study on 500 male turkeys, gathering data on their snoodlings and blood samples for immune system functionality, and they discovered that a similar negative correlation existed. The presence of more red blood cells when the snood is not removed will help to fight off unwanted invaders in their immune system, explaining this trend. And even though I said size doesn't matter, in terms of natural selection for turkeys, it kind of does. So we're going to move on from that. When it comes to thank you. When it comes to bulking, wild turkeys will feed on various wildlife. They're not getting swole for no
swole
reason.
In the gym.
When a turkey is ready to go on his cut.
This sounds like some toxic masculinity right here.
I mean, it's Turkey Tom. You know, I can't really say. But of course, like most animals, depending on the season, they'll be eating different things. So in the warmer months of spring and summer, diet consists mostly of grains like wheat, corn, and of smaller animals such as grasshoppers, spiders, worms, and lizards. In the colder months, fall and winter, wild turkeys consume smaller fruits and nuts like grapes, blueberries, acorns, and walnuts. To find this food, they have to be continuously foraging and feed most during the sunrise and sunset hours. So if you're hunting, that's when you're going to find turkeys. Domesticated turkeys consume a commercially produced feed formulated to increase the size of turkeys, like we already talked about. To supplement their nutrition, farmers will also provide grains such as corn, which is part of their natural diet, so it's okay.
I would also like to say that where my parents live, when we were growing up, there was a lot of wild turkeys around.
Nice.
And now that I think about it, the most times that we saw them were like early in the morning on the way to school or like, in the evenings or whatever.
Yeah, they're like dusk to dawn, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of like deer almost, I guess.
Kind of like deer.
Yeah. They do also participate in grooming behaviors called dusting, sunning, and feather preening, which most other birds also do feather preening. So you've probably heard of that at least. But dusting is when turkeys get really low on their stomach or side and just flap their wings really aggressively to coat themselves with dirt, which is interesting. It's like a chinchilla,
Cute.
Right.
Except when chinchillas do it, it's really cute.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's very adorable. But the reason they do this is because it removes debris buildup on their feathers, which can clog tiny pores that they have, like where parasites and lice can kind of inhabit. So by doing these dust baths, they kind of get rid of the chances of that. Sunning for turkeys is exactly what you think it is. It's like a cat sitting outside a window on a sunny day. They bathe in the sunlight for their top and bottom halves. They can serve to liquidate the oil that turkeys naturally produce, and it spreads over their feathers and dry their feathers from precipitation at the same time. What were you going to say? Whatever, man.
What is oil?
It's the same as now, I suppose.
Oil.
In feather preening, turkeys are able to remove dirt and bacteria while also ensuring that non-durable feathers are removed. So they just pluck those things out and get rid of them and move on. Finally, turkeys fly. So if you don't know that, just imagine their giant bodies in the air, which is kind of comical.
I believe I could fly.
But for obvious reasons, domesticated turkeys are considered flightless because they're bigger.
Too fat.
They're too fat. This is a random fact. This has nothing to do with turkeys, but it has to do with other fowl. Did you know that the reason geese have to poop so much is so that they can continue to fly?
I believe it.
Yeah.
Those things poop a lot.
They do. They actually poop while they eat because they eat so much that if they don't, they would be too heavy to fly.
I love that for them.
Anyway, turkeys are kind of the same. If they're too big, they can't fly. So domestic turkeys are usually considered flightless, but if you see them in the wild, they can fly for short distances. They are best adapted, of course, for walking and foraging. They don't fly as a normal means of travel, but they can be seen sometimes sitting in trees, which is horrifying.
Hmm.
Um, they can fly up to a quarter mile if they perceive danger. They may also take shorter flights, again, to roost in the trees. And so now that we kind of know how turkeys got here and what they look like and what their personal preferences are for each other, in the next half, we'll go over the meal.
Every week, you listen to the MCP host droll on and on about, quote, interesting topics. And yes, I did just use air quotes for that.
We are positive your listeners would come up with better topics than them, and so we are enlisting you to send them over so we can talk more about exciting things in the future episodes.
We highly encourage you to do yourself and other listeners a favor and start sending good topic ideas over to mediocrecontentpodcast@gmail.com.
We even give you permission to slide into their DMs over on Instagram at Mediocre Content Podcast and Twitter at Mediocre Squawks.
If you don't decide to send topics over, prepare yourself for continued intense mediocrity.
Though honestly, it will probably be mediocre either way. Thanks for trying, and good luck in the second half of this interesting podcast, air quotes still included.
Welcome back to the totally not creepy second half about eating the turkey we just talked about.
Yes.
Woo! Okay. So the holiday Thanksgiving usually revolves around having friends and family near and having everyone bring food so that you can eat and engorge yourself forever. It's great. Wonderful. Lovely. Typical
Yes.
dishes, at least for the United States, are bread stuffing, potatoes, cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie, and of course, turkey.
Yes.
If you're my family, you also make corn pudding that your brother stirs before it's set, and your aunt gets super pissed about it. And now the corn pudding is ruined. So thank you, Chris, for doing that.
You just roast him right here.
He knows.
Straight up. Never gonna let it go.
I don't think I've ever seen Suzanne so mad about corn pudding. So anyway, Thanksgiving is actually celebrated by multiple places. It's not just a U.S. holiday. Some of the dates are different, though. So some of them are in October and obviously in November. So we got the United States, Canada, St. Lucia, Liberia, and unofficially in countries like Brazil, Germany, and the Philippines. It's also observed in the Dutch town of Leyden and the Australian territory of Norfolk Island. So
Cool.
that's nice. We're all celebrating it differently, but also at the same-ish time frame. So I guess the real question, though, is out of all those staples, why is turkey at the center of this particular holiday? And not even at this particular holiday. I know sometimes people say, oh, we got our Christmas ham, but sometimes turkey is still also provided during Christmas dinners.
You're right. You're right.
So
Mhm.
It's often assumed that today's Thanksgiving menu originated in the event referred to as the first Thanksgiving. And there is indeed evidence of a meal being shared between the Pilgrim settlers at Plymouth Colony, which is Massachusetts in the United States, and the Wampanoag people in the late 1621. But there is no indication at all that during that first bountiful feast that there was ever a turkey served. For meat, the Wampanoag people brought deer, which makes sense. And the Pilgrims did provide a, quote, wild fowl. Strictly speaking, it could have been turkeys. They were native in the area. However, it's believed that these were instead ducks or geese instead of turkeys. What's more, the Pilgrims don't appear to have considered this meal a milestone worthy of special commemoration. No 17th century reference to exists beyond a letter written by Plymouth colonist Edward Winslow. For the Pilgrims, giving thanks for the autumn harvest wasn't a new concept. As a tradition with roots in European harvest festivals and Christian religious observances, days of Thanksgiving were fairly common among the colonists of New England. Throughout America's colonial era, communities held their own unofficial Thanksgiving celebrations, and few people associated them with the Plymouth settlers. So it's not really, coming together puzzle piece wise for this connection.
So it must have been The butterball lobby.
For
The
sure.
butterball turkey lobby.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, by the 19th century, turkey had, in fact, become a popular dish to serve on such occasions. There were very few reasons for this, though. It's not like everybody was like, oh, we should use this because of some random symbolic whatever. It's
Right.
literally because it was very plentiful, which is kind of what happens in a lot of traditions. It's something that's easily accessible. A lot of people can do it. And therefore, it becomes a staple. And then it just kind of rides out for the rest of the centuries. One expert estimated that at the time, like we talked about previously, there was about 10 million turkeys in America. And this is still during European contact. The second piece is that turkeys on a family farm were always available. So domestication was easy and accessible again.
Mm-hmm.
While live cows and hens were useful as long as they were producing milk and eggs, turkeys were generally raised only for their meat. There were no other reason to have them other than Thanksgiving's coming up and we need to get that turkey ready. Third, and finally, a single turkey was usually big enough to feed an entire family. That's how big these suckers are. So
Right.
you're feeding a lot of people, you need something large enough to do it. That makes sense. Nevertheless, turkeys were not yet synonymous. It's just these synonymous with Thanksgiving. Some people have credited Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol in 1843 with bolstering the idea of turkey as a holiday meal.
Mm-hmm.
But another writer, Sarah Josepha Hale, played an arguably more important role. In her 1827 novel Northwood, she devoted an entire chapter to a description of a New England Thanksgiving, specifically with a roasted turkey, quote, placed at the head of the table. That kind of sealed the deal. At about the same time, she began campaigning to establish Thanksgiving as a national holiday for the U.S., which she believed would help unify the country as it teetered toward civil war. Not great. Her efforts did pay off in 1863 with a presidential proclamation, actually by Abraham Lincoln, which is kind of cool. And as Thanksgiving became an official American holiday, a national mythology formed around it. An 1841 collection of pilgrim writing had referred to the meal described by Winslow as that first Thanksgiving. And although Winslow didn't specifically mention turkey, his fellow colonist William Bradford did refer to a great store of wild turkeys at Plymouth that fall in a journal that was reprinted in 1856. Before long, that cultural link between the Pilgrims, turkeys, and Thanksgiving became completely integral for American school children education, which we know what happens there. It just takes off and takes over the world. And now that's the new correct answer and the new norm. That's what we teach you in school.
Right.
From a more practical perspective, turkey is still somewhat affordable. I don't know about 2024 pricing, but overall, if you're looking,
it's not like cow
right,
meat, you know.
It's not like steaks, filet
Right.
mignon. It's
Right.
pretty accessible still.
Yeah.
And so although wild turkeys are considered endangered as of the early 20th century, its population has once again kind of rebounded in the millions overall. Additionally, modern breeding practices have obviously made them larger and cheaper, ensuring their continued place on the Thanksgiving and potential Christmas table. So the short answer is we don't really know why entirely it became the staple, other than it was cheap, accessible, and then it just became falsely integrated into the first Thanksgiving literature.
Yeah. They just made it up.
Yeah, it just made it up. There are obviously other traditional dishes made for, even outside of the United States, but specifically for American, ham, like we talked about, is also used for Christmas and Thanksgiving. In my family, we do lots of casseroles because that's our thing. We have green bean casserole, sweet potato casserole, we have broccoli and cheese. Then, of course, you've got your side staples, the mashed potatoes, gravy, the forbidden corn pudding. And outside of food, it's just a nice way to get together and see people you probably haven't seen in a long time, or avoid them entirely, depending on how your family works. Anyway, Blair, what do you guys eat for Thanksgiving?
So let's see. It has varied over the years because my mom wanted to try like different sides, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
But nothing drastic. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I
sure.
think consistently we've always had a turkey.
Okay.
We've always had mashed potatoes.
Love.
We've always had rolls of some kind.
That's true. That's true.
And then we would always have like a green. So whether that was
Mhm.
green beans, typically most recently it's been green beans, but I think she experimented with Brussels sprouts for a while,
Oh, I
which
do
were
love
actually
Brussels
really good.
sprouts. Yeah.
And then we do baked mac and cheese, which
Oh,
she's almost always done every year.
love.
Um, I brought that baked mac and cheese to a Friendsgiving 2 years ago, and I will say I got many compliments, like to the point where they
Nice.
were like, "We have to have the recipe." I'm like, "Okay."
Fine.
So that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We do the pumpkin pie thing or
Yes.
like a chocolate pie, I think, because
Mm,
Philip was not really a huge like pumpkin pie person.
fair
I think
enough.
he is now.
Mm-hmm.
So usually one or two types of pie with vanilla ice cream, of course.
Hmm.
And then I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and then stuffing. I usually insist
Mm-hmm.
on the stuffing.
I
I
do
like
like it.
even the box stuffing, so
Mm-hmm.
good.
It
Yeah.
is weirdly good.
Yeah, I like to balance my plate with like minimal meats and mostly carbs.
You and me both, girl.
Yeah.
I'm a casserole girl. I could care less
Yeah.
about the turkey. I could care less about the ham.
Yeah.
Please just give me all of the carbs.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I didn't even think about desserts, but yeah, pumpkin pie. Pecan pie is really popular in my family as well, which I do not
Eh,
like.
yeah, we're not really into that. It's mostly like pumpkin and
Mm.
apple. I've made apple
Okay.
pie a couple of years for
Nice.
because usually once I got older and like started baking more, I was
Mm.
in charge of the pies. So I would normally do like a pumpkin and an apple.
My favorite thing is when grandma and Suzanne decide to make Christmas cookies for Thanksgiving as well. Hmm
Ooh,
Um,
wow.
but one of the cookies that I absolutely loathe that Tyler
Mm,
loves is molasses cookies.
mm.
And she is bringing him a batch next week for the wedding.
What are molasses cookies?
Disgusting.
Okay, but like what are they?
They're like, I think it's like brown sugar and molasses is like the general
Oh,
concept.
so
Like
it's kind of like a toffee situation.
it's kind
Like
of
there's
like a
no flour or anything?
I mean, I'm sure there is, but it's
Oh,
basically
okay.
tar to me. It just
Okay.
ooh.
All
Uh-uh.
right. All right. All right.
Ugh.
All right.
Feel free. I
Fine.
mean, it's so they're very I don't know how traditional they are, but if I looked so a basic recipe, like this is not my grandmother's recipe or my
Mm,
aunt's recipe. This is just
mm.
a recipe.
Okay.
But first I have to get through the disclosure of what they did in the summertime before they made these cookies. Here we go. All right. So it's essentially,
Stupid recipe
I
websites.
know
I
every
swear to
time.
God.
So you got unsalted butter, granulated white sugar, packed brown sugar, specifically unsulfured molasses. So just think about what sulfur smells like. And then
Yeah.
to me, that's whatever. Eggs, all purpose flour, baking soda, ginger, cinnamon, cloves, and salt.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. That's the
All
word I
right.
would use also. Interesting.
Interesting.
Gross. Anyway,
But that's
yeah.
actually such a good idea to like kick
Mm.
off the Christmas season after
Yes.
Thanksgiving is to make
Yes.
Christmas
To make the
cookies
cookies.
after
Yes.
Thanksgiving. That's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I
Yes.
love that because usually the day after Thanksgiving, we would go and get our Christmas tree. So
Right.
yeah,
Be
totally.
perfect. You can have cookies and be excited. And she makes like these fruit nut bars and things
Yeah.
like that. So, like,
Okay.
it's great. Yeah. So, great idea. So, if you want to get in a festive spirit really, really early, even though Christmas is now in July, you
Mm.
can make yourself all the goodies right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And
No, that's
celebrate early.
perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. And I'm a big believer in like not doing Christmas before Thanksgiving. Like
Yes.
the day after Thanksgiving, even
Pre-game.
midnight on Thanksgiving Day, like
Sure.
do it.
Yeah.
But like before that,
Mm-mm.
we can't be bothered with Christmas.
No. Thanksgiving is still a holiday and it's still full of delicious foods.
Well, and it's also nice because like I feel like if you start Christmas on November 1st, it like makes you and to me anyway, it makes me automatically stressed.
Yes.
Like I need
Yes.
to have Halloween. I
Yeah.
love Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some time to get my Halloween decorations down,
Mm-hmm.
and then just give me about a month before
Mhm.
we start the Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year's pipeline, because
I mean, at this point, I'm about to bash the jingle bells. I am so tired of hearing the Christmas music already.
I haven't heard. So maybe it's because I live where I live, but
Maybe.
like I haven't heard any Christmas music at all.
Everywhere we have gone, it has been Christmas music. And actually, when we went to Disney, they were pumping the
Well, I
Christmas
believe
music
that
as well.
They're Christmas November 1st people over there.
For real. I'm like, y'all need to tone it down. Can you just like pass the cranberry sauce or something for like a couple of weeks?
The cranberry sauce,
Also,
mashed potatoes.
I love also the beans, grease, tomatoes, lambs. It's just, you name it. That's my favorite thing during the holidays. I will take it. That's my Thanksgiving celebration.
Yes.
Anyway, that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed.
I think that's perfect. We hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. To those who celebrate, have a happy holiday season. We'll be around. Don't you worry. And feel free to send us an email with any questions, comments, concerns, episode topic suggestions at mediocrecontentpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram or TikTok at the exact same handle because we keep it easy and simple around here. Also, don't forget to rate us 5 stars anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And we will see you next week. This has been Mediocre Content.
Thanks so much for listening. Cheers.
Cheers.